Hello, welcome to Carswell's Customs. It's been a while since the last video. I've been in the garage working on a food cart. Take a look. This was originally a 2-burner food cart, and I needed to add a 3rd burner to it and extend the front chassis and get this thing ready for the 2021 season. Along with the food cart, we are finally commercially producing our barbecue sauce. Now there are a lot of hoops to jump through, but we're finally able to, and we're finally ready to sell our sauce this week. So awesome. Before we get into the tuning, I want to say thank you to Brian and Darcy at B&D's restaurant for their help producing and selling the sauce. Now, if you have any events that need catering, especially automotive, get a hold of my friend Brian at BBQ Food Carts. So here's the Facebook BBQ page for food carts and event catering. Here's the Facebook B&D's page. It's the restaurant on 127 just north of Mount Pleasant where the sauce is produced. And here's the Facebook Twin Turbo Barbecue Sauce, the actual sauce page. This will be the page with the barbecue sauce pics and recipes using our sauce and other good barbecue information. Hey, thank you for watching the first segment. Yes, there was some marketing, but 2020 was tough. So when you consider Twin Turbo and B&D's, it goes a long way to reviving our family's economy. Thank you. All right, Silverado 8.1 and Allison Tuning. Cave ride begins. Okay, the engine tune is not designed for mileage, so let's get that over with right now. If you're looking for mileage, keep your foot out of the throttle so the computer won't go into power enrichment mode and add extra fueling when accelerating. So that's on you to increase your mileage. So the trans tune is quite firm when the throttle position gets higher. If you slowly roll into the throttle like you got a cup of coffee in one hand and you're driving into work, it'll shift quick and produce a nudge as the shift occurs. Over 50% throttle, it'll hit hard and lurch forward on the 1-2 shift. Full throttle, it'll chirp second gear. All right, we'll start right out going through the chapters here and making sure we hit every piece. So, general, idle, base set point for idle. I increase this area once the engine gets a little warm. I like to idle a little bit higher. It seems to run better. Idle smoother. Again, I match the set point for the low vehicle speed as well to the base set point on that. MAF calibration, I did recalibrate it. I've got a cold air intake and an exhaust on my truck. So when you get HP tuners, apply your mass airflow corrections after you data log. VE as well. Fuel, I changed my Stoche AFR from 14.7 to pretty much 14.0. Again, because there's ethanol in the gas here in Michigan, and 14.0 just seems to work better for me. Power and rich, go ahead and remove the delay to 0 RPM. Increase the ramp in to 1.25 or 1.3. If you've got a blower, I think you can move that up to 1.5. EQ ratio. This is the ratio that that your air fuel ratio is divided by, and it gives you your power enrichment air fuel ratio. So my 14.0 is divided by 1.1, and then that gives me the power enrichment air fuel ratio that I'm looking for. Over temp protection, the catalyst over temp, I turn that off. RPM limits in gear, I move those all up to 5,500. You can see it's 5,200 and park neutral is 3,200. So that was really annoying when you tried to do a free rev and it would only go up to 3,000 RPM. People thought you're nuts. So I like to have that a little higher. So this is the air-fuel ratio spark advance correction. This is how much spark to add dependent on the air-fuel ratio. When I'm tuning, I don't like a whole lot of things playing with spark, especially if I'm not commanding it. So I zero these out, and that helps me get an idea of what the engine wants and what it's doing a lot better. I don't have to worry about it pulling a ton of spark because of a air-fuel or adding spark for an air-fuel condition that I'm not commanding. So zero those out. You can put them back in after you get your tune together, and then if you want to, I just leave them out. All right, minimum spark. This is the spark that the minimum amount that can be commanded for an idle condition, and it looks like the stock settings are it can command up to -20. I like 10 degrees works for me. I don't want to pull a -20 out of it to modify an idle condition. So that's out of the way. Okay, knock retard. I went ahead and softened up the amount that of ignition that can be pulled out down to 6 all the way across, and then the recovery rate. I also increased the speed at which it will reapply timing back into the engine. So burst knock retard. I don't like burst knock. I don't like using it. I don't like tuning around it. I do the best I can to eliminate it. It's anticipated knock. In my experience, I don't like it, so I get rid of it. This is the stock, and then this is my adjustment. Knock sensor level. I do pull a little bit out of this as well to desensitize those. So just a bit. Sometimes they can get a little aggressive, and it detects knock when it really isn't there. So I pull a little bit out, but not a ton. You can do what you want or how you feel on that one. Torque management. Now, of all the things that I really like to get aggressive on, it is the torque management and eliminating its authority over the engine development or the engine power produced, namely the throttle position, the spark and the fuel and all that. You know, you can hold your own counsel on how you want to handle that. I would increase the power enrichment, and if you wanted to leave the other stuff alone, go ahead. But the torque management is really good stuff to apply to, because you can see here the stock settings are only going to allow so much horsepower or torque, and then if you adjust these up, you get all of your power immediately. And that's exactly what I want. Maximum torque again, 500. I put it right up to the 639. I don't like using, this is kind of a weird thing, but you'll see at the bottom here you can go to a maximum amount of 640. I've had some errors or some items that kind of pop up when I use the maximum amount of the threshold. So I usually go one under the threshold all the time. So tip-in torque, this is how much the maximum allowed torque per gear. When you tip in, you can see how that's absolutely slowed down or weakened. I put that right back up to 600. Output shaft, maximum torque. Front prop shaft, maximum torque. Rear prop shaft, put it all up to the maximum. ETC, electric throttle control, TPS max. Okay, again, it's limiting torque in here, and so I don't like that. Put it right all the way back up to 100%. Allow yourself all the power that the engine's going to produce. spark retard versus torque reduction. So if something in the logic says, hey, we need to pull spark because we're producing too much torque. I mean, all of these tables seem to be related, and I don't know which ones are directly related, but if for some reason it gets a wild hair and it decides, okay, we need to pull some torque, it will reference this table, and so I've zeroed everything out. So even if it does just decide it's going to pull some torque, it's the amount that it's going to pull is 0. Abuse mode, I mean, run that up to 6600. All right, so let's pop into the trans now. All right, so here's the Allison tuning that I've done. I've been running this tune for about 6 months, and I'm very happy with it. I very rarely have to put the transmission into towing mode. I've increased the shift pressures and reduced shift timing, and it just works, and it works all the time. So I'm very happy with it. Use at your own risk. So let's go right into, I don't change a whole lot with the general, manual, shift scheduling. I think the transmission does a good job of knowing when to shift, but it's just, I don't think that it does a good job of applying enough pressure or being aggressive enough. So my full throttle enable, I changed the full throttle. It originally is 94% before you get a full throttle shift. I like my full throttle shifts if I'm about 60%, and then disable that idea or that scheduling at 55% throttle. Okay, here's the wide open throttle TPS thresholds as well. I went ahead and reduced that down to 55%. Shift pressures, I did increase the max pressure available to 95%. All right, so upshifting. You can see that the base shift pressures stock are pretty low, and so this kind of gives you a softer shift when you're going here. So I went ahead and just increased it quite a bit, and I'm pretty happy with the performance. Performance or towing mode is just a replication of the normal. So there's, like I said before, there's really no advantage in clicking the button. Although I do like to click the button when I'm coming downhill and I got my boat behind my truck. I do like the more aggressive downshift scheduling. So, but okay, these are the pressure modifiers. These will decrease or increase transmission pressure by temperature and torque. Again, I like to pull multipliers and stuff out that I'm not commanding, especially when tuning, because you just sometimes think the computer will command things and you don't know why. So pull those out and you can apply them back in if you'd like. Downshift, I like my downshifts. I don't even mess with it. Shift timing, I did decrease the shift timing. I pulled it down to a quarter of a second all the way around, and 0.250, and that's should be for every single one of them. Yeah, I don't add any time for any reason. They're all at 250, 250, and I don't add anything. Torque converter, don't mess with it. I like the way it does its job. Again, the apply and release. Transmission's been great for me. I just like to firm up the shifts. All right, so desired torque. Again, I put these up to the maximum, 639. Abuse mode, go ahead and put that above 8,000 RPM, over 99%, and over 200 miles an hour. That way abuse mode won't come in and retard the timing and slow down the performance that we go through to get these things running. And then I went ahead and modded the torque reduction to 0 if somehow this enabled itself or whatever. So, and torque reduction to 0 in both normal and performance. Hey, thanks again for watching. I'll put links to the barbecue pages in the description. And if you have any questions or want a copy of my 8.1 Allison tune, just let me know. Thanks.